joining me today. We are going to go over the epic AFC clash between the Cleveland Browns and the Los Angeles Chargers. This was one of my highly anticipated games of the week. I think that going in, I thought both of these teams were elite and the best in their respective conferences, easily top 5, and so I was interested to see how it would turn out. Today we are going to go over the game recap and look over it as a whole. We're going to talk about each individual team and what I thought about how they performed in this game, and then we're going to circle back and cover some of the key moments and the ways that this game changed. But before we get into that, if you're new, if you haven't done it yet, please like and subscribe. It allows me to continue to do what I love and bring you content that you love. Without any further ado, let's get into this Relentless Rundown. So coming in for the Browns, I thought that they were a very good team. They whooped up on my Vikings pretty good and pretty much dominated that game from start to finish. Against the Chargers, I was expecting them to be able to slow down that offense just a little bit. That ended up not really being the case. Really what it's about for Cleveland is that they can't seem to get out of their own way. They find ways to lose in the 2 times that they've done it so far this season. In this game, they had a drop pass on 4th down and 2, right to Odell Beckham. Couldn't make it happen. They had 2 times in the second half where they had drives that basically were killed because they had offensive holdings. And this is not a team that is able to work through 2nd and 3rd and long situations. When they are on and they are able to keep ahead of the sticks and remain that way, they are dominant. They are almost unstoppable. But if they get penalties that lead to them having to drive the ball downfield or really to have to make decisions from Baker Mayfield, they show that they've struggled. The defense had a couple key penalties against the Chargers in this game on 3rd down where they could have got off the field and they weren't able to, and that actually ended in 2 touchdowns for the Chargers. So when you look at a game that ends in a 1-possession game, that's how you lose them. In addition to not being able to get off the field on 3rd down, on 4th down, they allowed the Chargers to go 4 for 4. It was 2 separate drives where they converted 2 each, and those led to points as well. So you put that all into a perspective, you're not going to get out with a dub. The other thing that I would say for Cleveland is, man, that offense is awesome when it is clicking. They were injured up front for a lot of this game. They were swapping out offensive linemen, and it didn't seem to matter. Between Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, these guys went for 222 yards, and they averaged 6.7 yards per carry. They were dominant. And you think when you have 2 guys that can do that for you, you're going to be able to ride that out to a victory. The problem, as I alluded to a little bit earlier, was that Baker Mayfield, he just doesn't look like the guy who's going to take a team on his back or get a key first down when they need it. He was awesome when they were able to run play action and give him reads that were fairly easy, or give him 1 or 2 options to go to off of play action and have him make the right decision under those circumstances. But if it was 3rd down and long, or if it was 2nd down and long and he had to make some kind of a throw to keep the sticks moving, he just didn't look comfortable doing it, and he more often than not was not able to convert on it. So that's a little bit concerning when you're talking about all the things the Browns were able to do well. When your quarterback has a question mark, and he did for me in this game, gives me pause. The defense for Cleveland looked just okay. They show that they're susceptible, like most teams, to being beaten by great quarterback play, which they have been. Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. When they're playing quarterbacks who can't take it on their shoulders, Kirk Cousins, they're going to dominate those teams with that defense more often than not. The other thing that I would say about Cleveland is overall, they're a really, really good football team. They just haven't figured quite out how they're going to win those big games. They showed that here. That has to change if they're going to make a playoff push or be a real contender when it gets down to the nitty-gritty as we move forward to the end of the season. Their recipe for success and how they want to win games is a sound one. They're going to pound the rock. They're going to make it a high possession game for them and a low possession game for your offense. They're going to play sound defense, and they're going to win most of the games doing that. However, if they're facing someone who is just better or has the playmakers like a team like Los Angeles does, that's when they can struggle. Offensive penalties are going to hurt the Browns more so than most teams, and the other thing they're going to need is better play calling, especially in key situations, with an understanding of this is what Baker can do, and these are some things that we can't ask him to do if we want to get the win. I still think that they are the best team in the AFC North. I think they're better than Baltimore. They have an overall better roster, and their recipe for success is a little easier to obtain, and so I think it's their division to lose. We're now going to move to the Chargers, and they were able to parlay some awesome fourth down execution and some excellent and wise game management into this win. Offensively, it was pretty simple. They understood what was going on in this game, that they had to score touchdowns. They could not settle for field goals if they wanted to keep up with what the Browns were doing, and they were aggressive with that mindset throughout the whole game. Justin Herbert has the it factor. He was awesome in this one. He was accurate, he was able to navigate the pocket, and when it broke down, he was able to use his legs very smartly to either get a first down or to pick up a touchdown in one instance. When he's at that level, when he is able to play like he did against Cleveland, it is very hard to stop the Chargers. You look at what they have offensively, an excellent backfield, an Austin Eckler who can do a little bit of everything. Two amazing receivers, Mike Williams, the giant body who can go up and get it, Keenan Allen with his amazing hands and body control. When those guys are clicking, this offense is tough to stop. When you add in Joe Lombardi to that mix, he obviously has a trust for his quarterback and his team, and that gives them even more opportunities to continue to capitalize and score points. I loved what he did in this game. I know it was extremely aggressive, and it's easy to like something when it works out 4 out of 4 times. But when you just consider the game as a whole and what was going on, he made all the right moves, sans the end of the game, and we'll talk about that. But he made all the right moves that they had to make, all the right calls that they had to go for to enable this team to have a chance, and Justin Herbert delivered. The red flag for this team is fairly obvious. It's that running defense. They were getting absolutely creamed in the trenches up front. They could not stop Cleveland for anything, and had Cleveland had a little better of an offensive play calling game, they would have salted this one away, and they would have actually been able to beat the Chargers. However, that wasn't the case. The defense made a stop when it needed to, and were able to get off the field in a couple key points in the second half to be able to pull out the win. If they continue to give this up, big run after big run after big run, that secondary and that awesome pass rush that they have, they become far less impactful. And that's where their strengths are. So they need to be able to lean in on that, and they can't do that when they're giving up 6.5 yards a run. I think we've kind of learned the blueprint on how to beat the Chargers, and it's pretty simple. Teams that are going to be able to pound the rock, run the ball, and keep the offense of LA off of the field are going to have a huge advantage in this game. We saw it in that Dallas game where all they did was give it to Zeke and Pollard over and over, and they were able to keep the hands out of Justin Herbert. If teams do that, that's their kryptonite. Outside of that, however, it's going to be really hard to beat the Chargers. They are still, for me, an elite team, even with this potentially fatal flaw. No team really runs it like Cleveland does. Dallas might be an exception. Baltimore is going to give them fits, but there's not really a team in the AFC outside of Baltimore and Cleveland that are going to be able to do that for them. So I still like LA, and I think that they are going to push as we get further into the season for one of the top seeds. Please drop any disagreements, comments or questions for me down below. I would love to get back with you. And now let's pivot and talk about some of the key turning points of this game. The first spot I want to look at comes in the second quarter with about 10 minutes to play. So to set the stage, it's 4th down and 2. The Browns have looked awesome offensively and they are driving again. They are at the Chargers 17-yard line, down 13-10. Baker so far has been on fire. He's been able to hit plays downfield, mostly off of play action, and he's coming off a 41-yard bomb to Donovan Peoples-Jones. Now, on 4th down and 2, he finds Odell Beckham open over the middle for a first down. He's also going to get inside the 10-yard line. And what does Beckham do? The former All-Pro drops the ball. This completely destroys the momentum that Baker had. He was 9 from 9. That's his first incompletion. Obviously, it turns the ball over, takes points off the board, and the way that Cleveland was moving the ball, it would have been really hard for the Chargers to stop 3 runs and keep them out of the end zone. The Browns were still able to get a touchdown on the next drive and a field goal off of an Eckler fumble right before halftime, so they were able to go up 20-13 at half. But that drop by Beckham was the only thing in the entire first half that slowed Cleveland's offense. We now move to early in the third quarter, and Cleveland came out on fire off of a 52-yard double stiff arm run by Nick Chubb to make it 27-13 Cleveland. Once again, that offense is balling. And this is where it gets really interesting, and I absolutely love what Joe Lombardi did to keep his team in it regardless of the risks. The Chargers have the ball at their own 23-yard line, and they face a 4th down and 2. Now they're at their 23-yard line, so it's like they just got the ball off of kickoff. And Lombardi decides he is going to go for it. And that looks like a crazy call, but we have to look at the whole game as it stands, and that is that it is a 2-touchdown lead for the Browns. They've scored 17 unanswered points, and it doesn't look like that Chargers defense has a snowball's chance in hell of stopping the running game. So they need points and they need touchdowns to keep up. He ends up getting the first down on a 9-yard run by Austin Eckler, so I absolutely love that they keep it in the hands of one of their playmakers, and they give their defense a chance to breathe and rest and hopefully get enough to make a stop. Same drive, a little bit later, they face a 4th down and 7 from the Cleveland 22 after they've been able to push the ball downfield. They go for it once again and connect, this time to Keenan Allen for 12 yards and a first. This drive would be capped off by a 10-yard touchdown run to Justin Herbert. Now, not only do they get the score, which is obviously critical to pull it to a 1-possession game, but they allow their defense some time to catch their breath and not have to go back immediately after just giving up another long touchdown run. It was this 5-minute drive that I firmly believe saved the game for the Chargers. It would end up costing Cleveland on their side of offense as well, because now that offense is a little bit out of rhythm. They actually go 3 and out and have 2 offensive holding penalties in their next 2 possessions. So you can see how the dominoes started to fall in place for the Chargers to end up stealing this one. The Chargers are able to temporarily take the lead before a 71-yard touchdown to tight end David Njoku for Cleveland wrestles it back from the Chargers, and then we get to our next huge momentum shifter. The Chargers are still trying to claw their way back into this one, and they face a big 4th down and 4 from their own 41. They decide to go for it and are helped out by a defensive pass interference, giving them the first down. However, they get back into a 4th down situation, this one from Cleveland's 25-yard line, and they need 8. They go once again to their big playmaker. It's Keenan Allen with an awesome 20-yard catch to get them the first down under this critical situation. The drive would end with a 4-yard touchdown run to Austin Eckler with just under 7:30 to play to tie this one up at 35. Once again, it's all about The Chargers being aggressive, knowing that they're not able to do much defensively, and trying to keep up with that Cleveland offense by scoring touchdowns. It was the second time in this game where they faced 2 fourth downs on one drive and converted all of them. These teams would trade touchdowns. Cleveland once again in that unstoppable ground and pound, and the Chargers in their unstoppable aerial attack. However, Victor Vizcaino misses his second extra point of the game. So it is 42-41, Cleveland with the lead and the ball with 3:08 to play. They've been unstoppable, just pounding the rock in this game. What do? Pound the rock to end the game? You would think. However, just some really questionable play calling puts the Browns in a position to lose. If it's me, I'm giving it 3 times to one of my backs who's averaging 6.7 yards a carry. So they run on first down and they're stuffed. So I get that. But on second down, they try a deep pass down the sideline, which wasn't even close. And honestly, Baker Mayfield wasn't even close on almost all of his deep passes for this game that weren't set up by play action, that were clear and easy reads for him to make. So after the incomplete pass, it's 3rd down and 10, and they make the genius call to run a draw play. And obviously they're stopped short. And so they basically punt that possession in the game's most critical time and give the ball back to an offense who they themselves have not been able to be stopped much in Los Angeles. You have to know your quarterback. You have to know what he can and cannot do. And in those critical situations, you have to put him in the best position to succeed. Browns did not here. So Los Angeles gets the ball back. They're down by just 1 point. They have 2:02 remaining and the ball almost at midfield on the Cleveland 48. Immediately, there's a 20-yard pass to Jared Cook, the tight end, and that puts them in field goal range already. It sets up one of the most awesome running back plays I've seen in a while. Just a big brain play from Austin Eckler. On 3rd down and 2, he runs and gets a first down inside the 5-yard line and then slides down inbounds to keep the clock moving. So they now have a first down with 1:38 to play and no timeouts for Cleveland. So it's pretty simple, right? You take a couple knees, get to the middle of the field, and kick the game-winning field goal as time expires, right? But no. Instead, they hand it off to Eckler, who understands what's going on and kind of just tries to waste some time. And the Browns, credit to them, they actually pull Eckler into the end zone to force him to score to get the ball back. It was really the one time for me where I just couldn't agree with what the Chargers did on offense, but it was also the most critical point in the game. Now, luckily, it didn't come back to bite them for Chargers fans, as Baker Mayfield, once again with some questionable play calling, gained 12 yards on 3 plays as they had to go the length of the field to try to get a touchdown. Ended up wasting about 45 seconds on those 12 yards, and then threw 3 heaves downfield that fell lifeless, and the Browns would lose. This is one of the most fun games I've seen all season. 89 points being scored is always a good time, and it was back and forth throughout, and it was also really cool to watch the different decisions that these coaches made. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Once again, questions, comments, drop them down below. If you are new or haven't done it yet, please like and subscribe. I am Abraham Opax. This is Relentless Press, and we'll see you next time.